We, the people of the Diocese of Saldanha, are not afraid to dream and to turn our dreams into actions. Bearing our ancient name, People of the Way, we walk through the 800 kilometers in which we live, united and aware of our neighbors who may live many miles from us. We walk with our shovels, fishing nets, grapevines, industrial tools, through halls of literature and fields of toil, with our Bibles, prayer books, psalters and hymns, ever journeying, never those who have arrived. We stand tall in the noble tradition of our heritage, our deep roots and spiritual ancestry. But we are not stuck in a romanticized, sentimental past. We are constantly called by a God of love, who names us partners, family, and co-creators, to bring about with God pockets of heaven on earth. Because we are called, we courageously use our voice to participate in God's calling of the world. Ours is to continue and take further the love God started in us. We are inheritors of a theology that points to God and God's love for the world, a love that speaks realistically into our communities and situations. We hold a theology that connects us to sacred stories revealed in the Scriptures and in our lives. We teach a theology not of easy certainties, cold absolutes and empty guarantees, but of the spiritual, the mystical, of imagination, of possibilities, and especially of journeying. We are an ecclesia, a people of God, a both-and church fluent in paradox and ambiguity, not afraid to fall into the mystery, the emptiness, and the Easter of God, out of which new dawns will always arise. A church not lauding its uniqueness, but acknowledging that we bring to the world a unique offering, that progressive edge of the gospel that reaches into every facet of our lives, renewing our faith, calling us to innovate and experiment, while we purposefully and deliberately seek out the broken, the vulnerable and lost, the orphaned and widowed, the forgotten, overlooked, the unemployed, the less newsworthy and the unsensational, the untouchables and the unloved, those who are excluded, landless and exiled, those robbed of their potential by history and oppression, and those whose voices are diminished or lost in the fray of consumerism, materialism, and a culture of greed. A church engaging with people of other faiths and no faith at all, a haven of safety in a sea of change, a church that also disturbs the waters of comfort and complacency. We are a community in which our young people and our children are not just our future, but are at the heart of our now. We are young, not only in mind and spirit, but young in demographics, and so we are a church in which the young kick off their shoes and feel completely at home, where they are both seen and heard in our sanctuaries and in our leadership, where they are led and taught and encouraged to take the lead in colors and sounds particular to their own. And we are a community in which the old and elderly are honored too, where the family, small groups, and home souls are valued as pods of nurture, care and growth. We are parishioners, mothers, fathers, children, men and women, teenagers, doubters and teachers, healers, companions of the cross, administrators and prophets, priests and deacons, the elders, wise, infants and the foolish, the ones who believe that this is God's world and God will make all things new. We are growing in depth and size, building churches that are both interior and exterior, visible and invisible, churches that are outwardly pleasing, sanctuaries of beauty and sacred encounter to people of all faith and no faith at all. Ours is to continue and take further the love God started in us. Our spiritualities and liturgies are joy and music filled, accessible to all, relevant and soulful, stunning, simple, rich and silent, supporting worship and supported by prayer materials, courses and curricula for growing family life in every unit of the church. Our leadership is vibrant and visible, facilitators of authentic and Dharma conversations, a leadership that convenes with integrity and connects people, holding each person's voice as distinct. A leadership at parish level, in homes and youth groups, in archdeaconries and vestries, that consults and listens to the will and whispers of God for every part of God's vineyard. And in these structures, we see our unwavering commitment to all forms of equality, but especially to that of gender and age. Because everyone within our community are sacred ministers and leaders of the gospel, our deacons, priests and bishops, lay ministers, both girls and boys, choirs and servers, organizations and societies, women's and men's groups, church wardens, sidespersons, everyone is willing to own and run with their role. Unafraid of the politics of the day, we stand as leaders and followers, standing with others or standing alone for justice, reconciliation and truth. Ours is to continue and take further the love God started in us. Our hearts ache for and echo the radical inclusivity of Mary's child. We are creative, speaking in tongues of understanding, in language of unity, love, forgiveness and reconciliation. We find and express everyone's God-giftedness, gifts always renewed by prayer and reflection, by training and mentoring. We are a Eucharistic people, offering ourselves as a living sacrifice to be sent into the world for the work of whole-making, of mending and healing, of love, forgiving and uniting. We get our hands, our minds and hearts to work, using with wisdom, integrity and respect all the technologies gifted us in the 21st century. Like trees planted in different soils, we rise to touch the stars that God holds up for us. We are beautiful and hardy, delicate and bold. The color green courses through our veins. We are midwives, hands-on in the pain and messiness of labor, deeply involved in the birthing of new communities of connection. Our language is inclusive and gender-sensitive, free of discriminatory phrases and words, thoughtful and heartfelt, made evident in our conversations and liturgies. We describe God in images and metaphors that are both ancient and fresh, God made accessible to all, a God whose mother tongue is the tongue of every human being. Ours is to continue and take further the love God started in us. We look to each person and see the image of God. This insight explodes all the constraints that limit us. We see no Jew or Gentile, male or female, no straight, no gay, no color, no culture that separates, while loving all that each brings. Seeing what God saw in the story of our beginnings, that each person carries the innate goodness of God found in the clay of great life and small life. Filled with the enlivening Spirit of God, in love with our own bodies, aware that every part of us is precious and intimately known by the God who formed us while we were still speechless in our mother's womb. We know, therefore, the unspeakably precious nature of another's body. So we honor each and every body, physically, emotionally and spiritually, never harming or hurting a child, a woman, a boy or man. Ours is to continue and take further the love God started in us. We have a gospel, and it is ours to proclaim in every village, town, farm, beach and city, in every neighborhood, township, in every shebeen and shop, that God is love and seeks to make a home of love in us and in our world. This is our vision, God's vision in us, and knowing that we can do nothing without God, we throw ourselves daily upon God's grace and delight in the knowledge that God chooses to work through the ordinary ones, the faithful and open-hearted, who hear the voice ever calling, "Come, come." Come, it says, come.